Hello, Lindsay. How are you?
Hey, Aubrey, I'm doing great today. How are you? How's it going?
Awesome. It's a beautiful day here. I'm excited to be recording. And
Me too.
you sent me a very interesting article that I can't wait
Yes.
to talk about.
Yeah, I am excited because at the end of every year, well, right now we're in the beginning of the year in January, but we just finished 2023. And I know our listeners are probably curious about what's trending when it comes to English, right? What's trending?
Absolutely. And Merriam Webster chooses the word of the year for 2023. And it's the word authentic, right? Do you hear
Hmm.
that a lot these days? Authentic, people talking about authenticity?
Yeah, so authentic is the word of the year, just to make sure that's totally clear for our listeners to
Hmm.
not bury the lead. Is that what
Right?
we're saying
Sure.
for our listeners from Merriam Webster? Yes, authentic. Do I hear it a lot? Yeah, I'm surprised actually that it's because I feel like I've heard it a lot in the last like 7 years. Not as I haven't noticed a surge in 2023. What about you?
Well, it's interesting because diving into this article a little bit, it sort of said that the reason there's been a surge is because of AI. Like people
Okay.
are more interested, like, are your students' essays authentic or did AI write them? Right? Is the art
Okay.
you're seeing authentic or was it created by AI? So I can see why there's been a
Okay.
surge with
Yeah.
ChatGPT, right?
Right, because I feel like before, because it's really just been in the last year that I think the general public, normal people have become aware of ChatGPT and
Yep.
AI and what's going to happen. Really, just like last November is when ChatGPT kind of went live. It's crazy to think about that. But I think before that, I was hearing a lot of authentic when it comes to giving people like career advice or advice on building a business. Be authentic, be yourself, be your authentic self. That was
Yes.
all over the place. And now AI is taking it over,
Right. So there
right?
are actually two different definitions here that we're talking about. So we're going to
Okay.
share both definitions, example sentences, as well as a couple of really interesting vocabulary words that were in this article about the
Nice.
word of the year.
Okay, I'm excited. But first, guys, hit the follow button right here in All Ears English. This is the place to be if you believe in what we believe, which is connection, not perfection, right? Every episode here shows you how to come back to human connection through language. That's what makes All Ears English, all of our shows, different from every other show out there. Okay, guys, so hit follow and share with a friend.
Yes, absolutely. We're actually going to share a couple of conversation starters to chat
Yeah.
with a friend about this topic later in the episode. You don't want to miss it
Mhm.
because this is a very interesting topic of conversation.
Connection skill.
Absolutely.
Connection skill, right, Aubrey? Yeah. Love it. Okay. Where do we start?
All right, so let's dive in. The word of the year we shared is authentic, but it means two separate things, right? So, from the article, they said for a word that we might associate with a certain kind of reliability, authentic comes with more than one meaning. It's a synonym for real, defined as not false or imitation. But what you said, Lindsay, it can have this second meaning of true to one's own personality, spirit, or character. So, that first definition, right, means that it's really been created by an authentic source. Maybe it's art, music, and we've started saying if it's created by AI, it's not authentic.
Okay. Yes. Interesting. Interesting. So we're looking at two very different. So the first definition is about the source. Like, is it real? Is it an authentic Van Gogh painting, for example?
Exactly. Right. Here's an
Right.
example sentence. The expert checked the painting to see if it was authentic. This reminds me of Antiques Roadshow. Do you ever watch the TV show Antiques Roadshow?
Yeah, I knew someone in Boston who worked on that show
Really?
actually. And that's all she talked about was she loved it. She was super into it and I didn't know about it until I met her and yeah, really interesting. Tell our listeners what it is. What
It's
yeah.
fascinating. It's this it'll be people who bring like a heirloom, something very old and antique. Maybe they found it in the attic or their grandparents had it, and then they bring it to these experts on this TV show who tell them sort of the history of it, everything they know about it and what it's worth. And sometimes it would be shocking how much one of these things would be worth.
That is really cool. That is really cool. When you're able to go through a home, maybe a family member's home, and kind of search for treasures. That is really fun, I have to
Yes.
say.
And the
Yeah, of
biggest, what was most important always for these experts is it authentic? The authenticity, because they could
course.
tell a fake, and then they'd share all the, if this, wasn't actually painted by this famous actor or artist, then they would share why, how they can tell if it's authentic.
Interesting. Did you hear that story recently? It's been in the news about a couple who purchased an authentic something. I don't know the name of the painter, but at a Savers, I think in New Hampshire, actually, my home
Really?
state. They
No.
purchased it. It ended up being for like a $2 painting. They always loved it. And then they somehow found out that it was an authentic original of this famous
Wow.
painter.
Worth
And
millions.
but then they went to auction it at an auction house, and it just didn't command, like, someone put a bid
Oh.
on it at a very high price. I don't know, maybe let's say $200,000 or something.
Mm.
I don't know the exact amount, but then the bidder pulled out. And so
Oh,
and then they didn't get any other bids, and now they're just taking their painting back home, and so they got all excited because it is an
interesting.
authentic, but maybe, I don't know. There's issues around how do you authenticate something? How do you make sure it's real? And what is real if it's not hanging on the wall in the Louvre, right?
Right,
Like,
exactly. That's really tricky because
yeah,
the price of something like a painting is what the person who purchased it determines really,
willing
right?
to
It
pay.
might be
Yeah.
worth a certain amount, but if no one
Mhm.
pays that price, then just gonna take it back home.
That's yes, yes, I've been in that world this year, in the rock and gems world. It's the same thing. It's
Mm,
whatever someone is willing to pay is what it's worth. So you could have a beautiful rock, you think it's beautiful, it could be worth $1 or worth $1,000,000. It's what the market says it's worth, which I guess
right.
is true for anything, but more so from these items that come from art. I
Absolutely.
don't know. It's
Right, so it's
interesting.
interesting. It might be authentic and still not worth what you would like it to be worth, right? But so
Exactly.
that's the first
Exactly.
definition, just that it's legit. We say legitimate, it's real, it's not a replica.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
and
there's
then
a
the
second definition.
Yeah, it's what I mentioned earlier, right? So this has been more in style in the last, I would say, like 7 years, 5 to 7 years, with social media, with bloggers and everything. Even on social media, a person should be their true, authentic self. Yeah. Any
Yes,
thoughts there,
I
Aubrey?
agree. This has been trendy for a while, and it's sort of not going away, right? As
Yeah,
often on social media, we're using filters. We're putting our best face forward, and,
right.
as we start to realize, like, maybe this isn't authentic, there are actually a lot of fun people on social media who just keep it real. They show
Keep it
life
real.
exactly how it is. They're like, "I'm just being authentic here."
Yeah, it's really interesting if you see, or even like I kind of wonder what's going to happen to the world of comedy, because there's a lot of comedic skits out there just by an everyday person or a micro influencer that are pretty funny. And then I don't know, just everyday people are taking over comedy in a way.
I
Have you
heard
seen those
us
skits coming up?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely, and I heard a stand-up comedian talking about this, and it was interesting because he was being funny about it, but he was really frustrated because there are all these,
right.
sort of amateurs. He has put in years and years of work, like the grind of
Yes,
performing at these, open mic nights and finally
of
getting to where
course.
he's well known, and then a TikToker will be famous overnight for one funny video.
Exactly. Yeah, I wonder how that feels,
Yeah,
right?
it's gotta be
And then there's
interesting.
other issues around, copyright of comedians' content.
Mm,
Which we could get into another day. But I know there are comedians. I think Sarah Silverman, I'm not sure, but I feel like I heard this somewhere, that contesting, Chat GPT and
oh, yeah.
AI to protect their own copyright, which they should.
Right.
Uh, that's a scary prospect, right?
Absolutely, right? This becomes tricky when if you are well known for something, but it can be just taken from you and replicated,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
your livelihood could go away.
100% interesting. So there's a lot of conversations to be had around authenticity for sure.
Absolutely. But we wanted to
What
share a
else?
couple other interesting words from this article. The first one was comeuppance, which means a punishment or fate that someone deserves. The sentence from the article was a certain New York congressman got a taste of comeuppance after years of lying. So in the article, they're
Ooh.
sort of sharing highlights from the year, just some interesting things that happened.
Ooh, I like this one. I don't really use this word in my daily conversations. Do you, Aubrey? I love it. It's fun though.
It is
Fun to
fun.
say.
I love to say it. I don't use it that often either, but when it does come up, I love it. I'm always impressed if someone's able to throw it into a conversation.
Well, if if that is the definition, a punishment of fate one deserves, then there is a representative that just got encountered his comeuppance. So he was actually kicked out of Congress in this
Yes.
week here in December because he lied. He just is a pathological liar,
Yep.
and they were only able to do this vote once they had the evidence that this he was
Right.
completely defrauding his constituency, and he's out of there. So
Yep.
that's the best example
He
I
is the
can.
poster child
He's the
that
poster
he
child.
got his comeuppance. That's
Yeah,
exactly right.
which was very satisfying from my perspective.
Yes. I know if
Okay,
someone's going to defraud everyone, right? We want to see them get their comeuppance. People shouldn't get
we
away
do.
with, especially
We
when
do.
it's damaging for the US political system.
Yeah, especially when it feels like certain forces are creeping into our government, which
Right.
are concerning. It was really nice to see that Congress took action on this when it
Yes.
was blatant that there were just lies from day one of his campaign. So,
Yes.
anyways,
Absolutely.
our
Really
listeners
good
can,
example.
yeah, that's a great example. Our listeners can probably figure out who we're talking about, but we'll move on to number 3. What is it, Aubrey?
Onslaught. This is a little bit difficult to pronounce because the word laugh is in it. It has that GH, but it's silent. And it
Yeah.
means a large quantity of something that's sort of difficult to cope with.
Yes, I like that. This one's really good. Super useful. For example, 2023 was, should I read
This
this
is from
example
the
here?
article. This is
Oh,
the sentence in the article where I saw this word. I was like, ooh, good word.
ooh. Okay. Should I read it? Should I go
Yes.
ahead and read
Yeah.
that for our listener? 2023 was the year that authenticity morphed into performance. Its very meaning made fuzzy amidst the onslaught of algorithms and alternative facts. So the intense like oncoming of something, right?
Exactly, right? If you I imagine like a zombie horde. You'll often hear that, the onslaught of a zombie horde, it's like all of the
Right.
zombies you see running at someone in a horror film, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But we use this
exactly.
in this way too to say an onslaught of information. So they're talking about
Mm.
how, what happened in 2023, why authenticity was so important.
What's another example?
And you might
How would
say,
we
if you're
use it?
at work, you might say, I'm exhausted. I'm dealing with an onslaught of new clients at work or of new tasks, right? It just means like a lot. I'm having difficulty coping with the quantity of things coming at me.
Yeah. Do you have any particular day during the week, Aubrey, where you have an onslaught of work or requests coming in or questions from students, demands on your time? Is there
Sometimes a little
one?
bit. Wednesday mornings, we have our classes are on a platform where you're able to get
Mhm.
feedback, and I record some
Yes.
video responses. And often, especially after Black Friday, we had all of these
Yeah.
amazing new students join. So I had a
Yeah.
bit of an onslaught of responses to respond to. I loved it. It's so fun to get to know our new students. But yeah, that
It's so
does
fun.
happen where sometimes everything comes at you all at once.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we've had a lot of new students enter our courses in the last month or so. And so, yeah, there are, our work can wax and wane, right? There are certain days during the week when we feel that onslaught. For me, it's definitely Monday morning where everything comes at me
Mm.
because I haven't been answering emails over the weekend. And then there's new emails coming in on top of those old ones. Sometimes it takes until Wednesday until I get to the Friday evening emails, right?
Absolutely. I have a feeling that our listeners are feeling solidarity with you, right? You guys have this in common where Monday morning you open your email inbox and you have an
Oh, yeah.
onslaught of emails. Like,
Yes.
okay, I've got to
Yeah.
get back to this.
Yeah, this is our human experience as professionals right
Right.
now, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Aubrey. Now let's come to the connection piece, right? How do
Yes.
we start conversations around these ideas or these words, these trends?
Yes, absolutely. I would love for you to bring this up to me in a conversation. This is interesting to talk about, and it's very new, very trendy. So, the first option is you can say, can you tell if something is authentic or if it was created by AI? I would love this to
Mm.
start a conversation by asking that, and then to talk about all of the different things that could be created by AI that we didn't realize.
Oh, it's so true. I'm sure it'll get harder and harder to tell as time goes on, right? So that's one conversation starter. Again, can you tell if something is authentic or if it was created by AI? Then we can ask, how do you tell? How can you tell? We can ask follow up questions,
Yes.
right?
Oh, this is going to be a very robust conversation where there's so much to talk about, and asking people's opinions about it as well. But this is a great way to dive in with that question.
And another one, do you feel you're good at being your authentic self?
Yeah, so this
Right?
is
So
the
that
second meaning of authentic, right? And this
mhm,
is an
mhm.
interesting conversation as well to really deepen a connection with someone, to ask if they feel like they're being their authentic self. What do you think, Lindsay? Do you feel
I
you're
think
good at being your authentic self?
yeah, I feel like on this show I'm pretty authentic, right? For the
Yeah.
most part, pretty authentic. Yeah, I'd say I do an above average job. There are times when I struggle with it in my social life, for example. But yeah, overall by this time in life, I think I'm getting it.
Yes, right. I feel like here at All Ears English, we're pretty good about that, right? We're
Yeah.
letting you know a lot of details, and it makes it
Oh yeah.
fun, right? We want to connect with you, just like we want you to be able to connect with others in English. So we try to be pretty authentic.
All right, 100%. Let's do our role play. So here, Aubrey, we are at the airport. We're waiting for a flight, hopefully going somewhere fun and glamorous.
Yes,
Here we go. All right. So there's quite the onslaught of people here today.
right? It's so packed.
We're definitely getting an authentic airport experience.
Maybe I deserve it. I've been really grumpy lately and haven't always been patient. I'm worried I'm going to get my comeuppance.
That surprises me. I feel like when you're being your authentic self, you're so cheerful.
Nice. I like this. We threw them all in here today.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I said, so we're sitting in the airport, maybe we've checked in, and then we're just watching all these people walk by, and it's just incredible the volume. And I say, there's quite the onslaught of people here today. They're
Exactly. And
all
that would just
coming.
mean there's a big crowd, a lot of people. And at an airport, this is pretty standard.
Oh, for sure, especially certain airports. The Denver airport, DIA, has become really, really busy, busier than what
Mm.
they built it for
Oh,
because it's such a connection point in the middle of the country for so many flights. And it is just like it's a zoo all the time. It's
yes.
wild.
Always an
Yeah.
onslaught of people at the Denver
Yeah, yeah,
airport.
for sure. Yeah. And let's see, I said we're definitely getting an authentic airport experience.
Yeah, so we're
Okay.
saying, right, this is sort of assumed about airports that they're busy, lots of people. So we would say,
Yeah.
oh, okay, this is an authentic airport experience. It would be if it were less crowded, if there weren't very many people, then you might say, oh, this isn't what I expected. It doesn't feel like the authentic airport experience.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And then the last thing we said was what?
Well, I said comeuppance, right?
Oh,
I had
comeuppance.
a little more difficulty throwing this in, but this is something I
Yeah.
might say about myself. Be like, well, I've been grumpy lately, so it's almost like karma, where you're thinking like,
Karma thing.
okay, I've been a little grumpy, I haven't been patient. Maybe I'm going to get my comeuppance. It's another way of saying
Okay.
like, oh, I'm not building up good karma,
To get what's coming for you. Right, right, right.
and
Okay,
maybe I'll
okay.
deserve it.
And then I said, "That surprises me. I feel like when you're being your authentic self, you're so cheerful," right? So I pushed back, and what I see is that you're cheerful, I mean, we all have bad days, right? It
For
doesn't mean
sure.
we need to have bad karma,
No,
right?
exactly.
So,
Right?
yeah.
So this is more just an interesting you're sort of complimenting and also giving me sort of an opening to share why I've been grumpy, like, "What's going on?" You're like, "Oh, I feel like that's
Yeah.
sort of out of character for you," is what you're saying here.
Interesting. I like it. Okay, what's our takeaway for today about authentic and these other bonus phrases?
Yeah, I think it's not that surprising that authentic was chosen as the word of the year, right? People are starting
Mhm.
to appreciate authentic work in the art world with AI and everything that's happening, and it's fun just to
Yeah.
think about. I love that they choose a word of the year. It's fun to know which words are trending.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting to see in the next 10 years as AI starts to take over certain industries, what will be the status of authenticity, right? Maybe authentic creation creators. When something is authentically created and we know it, I feel like that'll be elevated even more because it's like a artisanal by hand type thing.
Yes, and I won't be surprised, if we go that way more and more. I already feel that way. I love
Yeah.
going to arts and crafts fairs and seeing all of these artisanal wares that are created by hand, the love that's put into them and the talent. So we might go that way
Yes.
more and more.
Super interesting. We'll have to see what happens. All right. So, guys, hit follow on the show. Don't miss it because it's going to be a good year for All Ears English. And if you believe in connection, not perfection, that is our motto here. Come along with us 4 days a week. Right, Aubrey?
Yes, awesome. I will see you next time, Lindsay.
All right. Take care. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.